Hello and welcome to another episode of Sports Ball with Palmer. On today's episode, oh yeah, oh yeah, it's Border War Week. It's Kansas Hate Week. I mean, to be fair, it's kind of almost always semi hate Kansas Hate Week, but it's really Kansas Hate Week as the border war is being reignited on the gridiron for the first time in 13 years. And then for the first time since '06, this game is being played. This will be the first time they've met in Colombia since 2006, as from 2007 to 2011, which 2011 was the last year they played. That game was played at Arrowhead. So this will be the first time they have met in Colombia since 2006. Oh boy, am I ready for this game. I've been ready since they announced this game was going to happen. But, and then a quick update though. As I said in the recap episode, Sam Horn and Blake Craig both were hurt in the game. They have announced that Blake Craig is going to be out for the remainder of the season, and Sam Horn remains out indefinitely. Now, he did get an MRI, and they will do some additional testing, but they have officially ruled Blake Craig out for the season, and I still think Sam Horn is going to end up out. Now, again, nothing against Sam Horn, but the bigger injury is Blake Craig, who was the kicker. Like a lot of team, and especially at college, like you only have like maybe one, like two, maybe three kickers on the team. So this is far more impactful because Horn was, yeah, he was battling for the starter, but I think it was going to be Bo. But obviously now, moving forward, the starting quarterback is going to be Bo Probilia. But Craig, there's a reason we call him Craig the Leg. Dude can bomb. He can hit like 50 plus yard field goals. So he was really good. So now you're playing with a backup kicker for the rest of the season. And like, it's football. Like, there's going to be, honestly, you weren't worried in the Central Arkansas game. And no, I don't think this week, when I actually, and I'm going to make a score prediction. I'm not going to do that every week. This will probably be like the only time I'll actually make a score prediction this season for Mizzou. But there's going to be a game or two this year that comes down to a kick. And I trust Blake Craig, and just like, when Harrison Mevis, thicker kicker baby, was here. I trusted him, and I trusted Blake Craig. So like, it stinks that he got hurt. I didn't even see how he got hurt, and I know I mentioned it in the recap video, but I didn't even see how he got hurt. But apparently, he got hurt on a kickoff trying to make a tackle, and it's kind of like, man, dude, why were you even trying to make a tackle? Like, just stay out of it. But so you've now lost your starting kicker for the season again. Like, that's far more impactful because there's going to be a game or two this season that comes down to a kick, and now you have the backup. So, and obviously he was kicked because I remember it's like, wait, why isn't Craig kicking? And they never really mentioned it on the broadcast. So it's like, yeah, he did. Obviously he did his job. Now, granted, most of them were PATs because the only field goals were from Craig, and that was in the first half. And Craig didn't get hurt till I believe it was in the third quarter. So obviously his kicks were PATs now. So we haven't actually seen him kick off, and obviously he was then doing the kickoffs, but so we haven't seen him actually. Obviously he's kicked field goals in practice, but we haven't seen him kick one in the game, which obviously could come up this week against Kansas. Now, I don't think the game is going to come down to a field goal, but I mean, I hope he goes out there and excels. Like, you know, that it's just being critical, and it's like, okay, yeah, like obviously you were the second, you were the backup kicker for a reason. I'm not saying all backup kickers are a liability, but I mean, obviously, just like at quarterback or other positions, like you're the backup, you're the second string. Now, not always, because again, well, especially pre transfer portal era and NIL era, like you would see loaded rosters. So it's like, man, that's their second string. Like they're just as good as the first. So like, but like, no, they could be just as, but sometimes it's like, yeah, you're still second string kind of for a little bit of a reason because, okay, they are better, even if they are only better slightly. Like, but obviously, you still play a lot of guys, especially D line, O line. So like, yeah, you might be second string on the, especially like maybe defensive line or linebacker, but like sometimes it's like, well, only so many guys can be on the field. So like, yeah, you're still going to get your playing time, but we just couldn't find a starting role because the starters are just like good now. Like you're good enough to be a starter, but just we gotta maybe rotate a little bit. But I would say especially for like kickers, like you're kind of a backup for a reason. So now again, I hope he does great. You know, shuts all. I'm not. I guess you could call me a doubter as well, but shuts the critics up, shuts everyone up, and just not. It's good now. I don't want to say start a kicker controversy. Now I think Craig is a sophomore or junior, so I think he would be back next year. But yeah, but that is the injury update. So kind of like major, and then at least for Kansas, they said one of their starting, I can't remember his name because it's like a weird name. Like it's not like, oh, hey, it's Chris or like John or Adam or something like that. Like it's a weird name to pronounce. Like I'm not even going to try. But he was injured in their game last week against Wagner. So, and he was a starting linebacker. So it's not so it's a pretty big impact to their defense and what they want to try and do defensively, obviously in this game. But that is the injuries, kind of the main injuries that are coming into this game this Saturday. And then now to get on my soapbox a little bit again, like I said in the Michigan preview, College Game Day is going to Norman, Oklahoma. And not that it's not a big game, like I'm not saying that, so don't hear what I'm not saying. But again, obviously being a Michigan fan, but like you look at Michigan and Oklahoma last year, like both had down years. Now again, I have high expectations and definitely think that Michigan is going to rebound this year. But College Game Day should be in Columbia, Missouri for the border war game because, and obviously, especially with conference realignment, obviously Mizzou, former Big 12, you can obviously Big 8, you know, member. And then now they're in the SEC when they moved to the SEC in 2012 to start the 2012 season. Obviously this rivalry ended, but obviously when Texas A&M, their rivalry with Texas and like Texas Tech ended. Obviously when Nebraska went to the Big Ten, their rivalry with Oklahoma, Colorado, obviously Missouri, Kansas State, that ended. I mean, which granted they've renewed it, but the backyard brawl, like when West Virginia moved, that rivalry with Pitt ended. We've just seen a lot of these longtime rivalries end. Now, Nebraska has played Oklahoma since, they've played Colorado since, but they're not playing every year. And obviously, this game ended and they haven't played for 13 years. So, and again, Oh, of course they're like, oh, you guys left the conference, blah blah. At the time, and I'm getting on it different, but like gained it because this rivalry before it ended was the second longest running rivalry in college football and the longest running rivalry west of the Mississippi. And this rivalry, oh man, it is based on pure hatred. I mean, especially if you're live in Kansas City like I do, you not that you don't understand the rivalry. Like if you live in on the eastern part of the state and like St. Louis, now granted you kind of more hate like Illinois on that side. Like don't get me wrong, I hate Illinois too, and I wish they played Illinois every year as well. But you don't come. I mean, it's still like a state, but like again, more here, like especially in Kansas City in the western part of the state, like and in the eastern part of Kansas, like you feel and understand the hatred of this rivalry. And I'm glad they've been playing in basketball. Like they finally brought it back in basketball, and they've been playing the last 4 seasons. So don't get me wrong, I'm happy about that. But this is the first time it's back in football, and they need to be playing every year. They'll be playing next year, and I think it's at least as of right now, it's only this year and next year. So hopefully they can work something out. I mean, at the very least, like say play 2 years and then off, then play 2 more years, then off, something like that. But I really want them and hope they can find a way. And again, I know it is a little bit harder trying to schedule obviously this game as a non-conference game, but and then especially with the SEC going to a 9-game conference schedule, that means then they'll only play 3 non-conference games. Although, well, and then to bring back in Illinois, like not next year, but in 2027, I believe is when they'll play again. But or like in some fashion, play Illinois or Kansas every single year because like those rivalries are just great. But again, the MUKU rivalry, it runs deep and it goes back to the Civil War. And again, okay, we can get in all that history, of course, Missouri being a slave state, blah, 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 but like this rivalry it just runs deep and it embodies what is great about college football. I would say the MUKU rivalry is a top 5 rivalry in college football. A little bit biased, but also not because you hear other people say it too. But like I would put Michigan, Ohio State as probably the number 1 rivalry. But now this is probably where more bias is showing. I would probably put Missouri, Kansas number 2. And there's some really good rivalries out there, but this rivalry, it runs deep and there's pure hatred. Like I can't stand that school to the west. I can't stand KU. I absolutely cannot stand them. But and then even bringing in like, oh, they dodged us for literally 13 years, and it's like, at the time when Mizzou did leave for the SEC, like obviously like they were invited, like the SEC wanted them. Like, how are you going to say no? And again, like obviously we can say, oh, is the SEC? Like I think the SEC is starting to fall off as the top end. Like the Big 10, Big 12 are right there in the conversation for the best conference in college football. But especially at that time, like, oh, the SEC wants us. Like heck yeah, we're gonna go. And just say like, oh no. If the SEC asked you to come, as in Kansas, you would have done the exact same thing. Like you can say, oh, something like, I mean, yeah, kind of obviously, like they're not gonna do it if there's not gonna be good money involved. But especially at the time now, obviously Texas is in the SEC. But at the time, especially with the Longhorn Network, and I'm pretty sure they still have the Longhorn Network. But like all the money was in Texas, like especially the University of Texas, not just like as a state like Texas Tech, Baylor, whatever. Like the University of Texas, and even Oklahoma. Like, that's where all the money was, and it looked like the Big 12 was going to fall apart. So it's kind of either leave and it falls apart, and then you're obviously already in a new conference, or stay and it falls apart, and then you're kind of in a little bit of panic mode, or obviously then leave and the Big 12 stays, or stay in the Big 12 as a conference, stays together. And obviously it stayed, and obviously the Big 12 is looking up. And granted, don't get me wrong, especially like with the way college football is heading, like Missouri is in a good situation being in the SEC. But I do still wish we were in the Big 12, especially for the rivalries, Kansas State, Iowa State, Oklahoma State, you know, those classic rivalries that Mizzou just doesn't really have that rival in the SEC. Like, yeah, it's kind of Arkansas, but you kind of don't get the feeling it's both ways now. Like, I mean, I would kind of still even consider them a rival, obviously, especially because geographically you're close, and especially in recruiting. But you kind of hear from them like, oh, Mizzou, like, if they probably didn't have to play us, they wouldn't. But it's also funny because we keep beating them, so it's like, oh, we don't want to play them. But I'm pretty sure it's because we keep beating you. But you've literally dodged us, Kansas, for 13 years and just been crying. Like, we reached, like, even when as Missouri was leaving, like, we weren't just saying goodbye, we don't ever want to play you again, but like what they'll say. Missouri still reached out, but of course, Bill Self pretty much runs that athletic department. He turned it down, and it's like, yeah, of course they're obviously gonna. I mean, kind of rightfully so, because of obviously the success and what he's done with at Kansas. Kind of earned that, but it's like we could have continued. Like, now, I mean, I'm pretty sure we've still been playing in baseball all this time. I mean, I know we've been playing in baseball for a few years now, but like, again, it's like, obviously, like, the rivalry's still there in baseball. Or like, obviously, when we play soccer, like, I know we played like the women's soccer team. I know it's been a little bit, but I know there was a few years ago that like they met in the NCAA like women's tournament. So like, obviously, like, you still like the rivalry, like, is like all sports. When we're playing soccer, women's basketball, baseball, like, obviously, like, it's still there. It's different in basketball, but then it's even different in football. So, like I said, I'm glad we've been playing basketball, but I'm glad this game is back in football. But like, and then even 3 years ago, when they said we apparently dodged them in a bowl game, like, do you not realize how it works? Like, the bowls choose, like, the schools like give a list of, like, okay, because we were 7-5, 8-4, I believe it was, and then they ended up going to the Liberty Bowl. But like, so like, but like, Missouri chose the Liberty Bowl as one of those games to go to. Now, obviously, like, again, like 2 years ago when we finished 10-2, and we went to the Cotton Bowl, like, that was kind of like, okay, this SEC team finish, if these teams like are in the playoff. I mean, again, at that time it was the 4-team playoff. What was the last year of the 4-team? Okay, if these SEC schools are in the playoff, then it goes to this one or whatever. So, especially the bigger bowls, like the Cotton Bowl, the Peach Bowl, the Rose Bowl. Like, oh, if you win the SEC and you're not in the playoff, you go to the Sugar Bowl. Oh, and ACC champ, if they're not in the playoff, then obviously they're in the Orange Bowl. Although now it's a little bit different, especially with the 12-team playoff. But, like, okay, the Rose Bowl was between the Big Ten champ and the Pac-12 champ. Of course, there's no longer a Pac-12 So like that's how it was, especially for this. Now, like the small ones, like okay, the Liberty Bowl, the Holiday Bowl, the Pop Tarts Bowl. Like, I mean, granted, that's one of the newer bowls. Like the Outback Bowl. Like those bowls more choose who comes. Now, again, schools will put out a list. Like again, okay, like we were 7-5, so obviously we weren't going to go to one of the big, especially like the New Year's Six Bowl. We were going to a lower bowl, like a Holiday, Liberty. Believe that was when we ended up playing Army and Armed Forces Bowl and lost. Hey, that's the most American thing to do is lose to Army in the bowl game. But so okay, Mizzou gave out their list. The Liberty Bowl didn't choose Missouri to play in that game. So if you want to blame anyone, blame the Liberty Bowl. Like Mizzou didn't duck Kansas in that bowl game. But of course, like at the time they were like, "Oh, Mizzou's ducking," and then like it literally came out like, "No, Mizzou wanted and would have played Kansas had given the opportunity, and they wanted to play in the Liberty Bowl because that's pretty much one of the few. I mean, again, it's been and I've slept since then. Was like one of the few games Kansas was projected to be in, but the Liberty Bowl didn't choose Missouri, so no, we didn't freaking duck you in a bowl game. We're not freaking scared of you. Like you think like." You're arguing, oh, you're scared to play Kansas because you're scared to get beat. Like, no, but the frick, we're not scared of you. No, we're just not. You think you're this football powerhouse juggernaut? Shut up. No, you're not. You can call us Mitch, yeah, okay. How many national championships have you won? Like, okay, whatever. Yeah, now I know being a Missouri fan. Like, that's kind of the pain of being a Missouri fan. Other than I mean, we've won one College World Series, and that was in the 1950s, 1954. So, like, we've never won a national championship in football. We've never won a national championship in basketball. Haven't even been to the Final Four in basketball. Like, that's just the pain of being a Mizzou fan. But I would still rather be like a quote-unquote mid-tier team in the SEC than a bottom in, like, the Big 12. So, okay, cool, whatever. But we're also coming off back-to-back 10-win seasons. Like, our program trajectory is a lot higher and going, upwards, while yours is, and you're a bottom 5 college football program all time. So, yeah, okay. But just to look at this game again, so Bo Prabilia is going to be the starting quarterback. It will be interesting with the running backs because it'll be Ahmad Hardy in the game, and then so I feel like he's gonna obviously get the start and have the start, but ground and pound, baby, and I feel like a little bit like watching the game. There was some vanilla play calling from Kirby Moore. So obviously I expect him to open up the playbook a little bit more this week. And so looking at this game, Missouri is favored by 6.5. Obviously not surprised Missouri is favored. And then the over-under is 51.5. I mean, I not Mizzou only because I do think Kansas will score a little bit in this game. But I do like the over in this game because I've not, like, again, I say high scoring, but the high scoring is going to be done by one team. And again, I'm not surprised because obviously, so Kansas is 2-0 coming into this game, and Missouri is 1-0 because Kansas did play week 0. So obviously they've played one, and because of that, they've played one more game than Missouri. And them and Tarleton are the only 2-0 teams right now. But again, Tarleton played week 0 as well. So, but they have played, again, okay, can't say too much because obviously Mizzou played Central Arkansas last week. But like, again, you're going to know more about both of these teams in this game. But, Kansas hasn't really played anybody. Again, so Jalen Daniels is their starting quarterback. He's in his 6th year. Like, man, dude, it feels like he's been in college football for like 10 years. But like, he's injury prone. Like, he never stays healthy. And like, that's all Kansas is like, oh, if, like, I'm not saying, like, I don't know. He's kind of like a Jalen Milrow. Like, has the talent, but rarely lives up to it. Or a Shador Sanders. Like, I'm not gonna say because his last name is Daniels. Like Sanders more so because his last name Sanders. But like, I'm not saying he's not talented. Like, I mean, obviously he's playing, and I'm just a guy making comments. But and the way they use him too, like they run him a lot. Like he takes a lot of hits. Like hence why he doesn't stay healthy and stay on the field is because he's taking a whole bunch of hits, and some of them unnecessarily. So, and again, they lost a lot of people again, whether it was graduating, transfer portal. So, and last year was one of their more talented, coming off of what was it like? I think they had 8 wins because obviously they were right in the same boat, on the same boat as Missouri with 7 or 8 wins. And then last year, like okay, and then they fell off and had 5 wins, went 5-7, I believe. Maybe it was 4-8. So like, oh, okay, they'll be. I don't think they'll be. I forget what their win total was. I think it was like 6 wins. So honestly, I'm all over that under, because or like it was 6.5. So if they're 6-6, like that, like the under is hitting. So even if they find a way to go 6-6, which I don't think they will, I think they'll go 5-7 or 4-8. But I mean, they lost. Yeah, obviously did Mizzou lose players too, but just and I know, and I'll still say it, especially in rivalry games, you can kind of throw records. Yeah, both don't have a loss, but both Kansas 2-0, Missouri is 1-0. So, but you can still kind of a little bit throw. But with this game being in Columbia and just the way, and I mean, obviously I haven't been like listening now again, like obviously talk shows were like 6-10, 7-10, 8-10. Obviously they talk both, and so like there's times I'm listening, but it doesn't seem like even like their Kansas guys have been completely hyping this game up. I'm not saying they're overlooking, but like, and again, maybe you can hype a game, but like Missouri is highly into like the way they are building this game and talking about this game on a Missouri side and then Columbia. They are like Columbia is going to be absolutely nuts. And game day is making a mistake not going there, but at least SEC Nation is going to Columbia. So hey, at least I know it's still like ESPN, but hey, at least they know what's up on SEC Nation going to this game. And although I did hear today at their practice, they were pumping in crowd noise to their practice to be ready, but like, and obviously I know like obviously schools will do that in an NFL. I think I've heard them do that a little bit in the NFL. Now I know they do, but like that's not gonna like it'll prepare you a little bit, but like I mean, granted, I don't know. Like I don't know how much that does help or not help. Like when schools do this, pump the crowd noise up so they're used to a road, can kind of be used to a road environment. So I don't know, but Columbia is just going to be absolutely nuts. I don't think they're going to be completely prepared for it. And I think, Bo had a really good game last week. I think Bo really is going to go off this game. I think Mizzou's defense, especially now with that injury to their linebacker in the run game, is going to be able to do what they want in the run game. And I know there was offensive line struggles at times last week, but they're going to do whatever they need to do to fix that. Drink and Kirby, they're going to do what they need to do to fix that. So I'm not gonna say it's disrespectful because, especially in a rival game. I mean, although granted, if this was like Alabama, oh no, I'll talk Alabama on the college week 2 preview. But like, say it's Alabama, especially like Nick Saban's Alabama against a bad Auburn team, that spread would still be like 20, something points. So like I just think this is a little bit not completely understanding. Now, very well, this game could be a close game, one possession game. Regardless, I think Mizzou covers. I think we at least win by a touchdown or 10 points. But I think, again, they aren't ready. The way Missouri has been talking about this game, like, not that, like, it's the only game circled, but they have circled this as one of the more important games on their schedule. Missouri 45-10. I've said that. I've said people that I've talked to, friends that I've talked to, I've said, hey, this is my score prediction. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, no, I don't care. Missouri 45-10 on Saturday in the Border War renewal. They're going to blow Kansas out. It's going to be a blowout. It might be a slightly close game, at least for the first quarter, but in the second quarter, I can see them. They'll pull away and just hammer. So that hits the over, because again, I'm supposed to give Kansas the 7. That'll hit the over of 51.5. But I just, and maybe it's being more cocky than confident, but I'm just really confident in this Missouri team. People aren't talking about Missouri again just because we're Missouri. They have something to prove, and that has been their mantra for 2-3 years now. Is STP something to prove? I feel like they should be ranked. At least one of them, obviously more Missouri than Kansas. Like, Missouri should have been ranked coming into this game, and I mean they should have been ranked. I get it, and going back to the preseason rankings, like getting just annoyed over preseason rankings, I really don't mean anything, because I would rather be ranked at the end of the season than at the beginning. But it also is a little bit allowing them to fly under the radar. So, hey, keep betting against us. Keep picking against us. Missouri's got something to prove. I believe and think Missouri can be a playoff contender this year. And I think they'll make the playoffs. So, but man, I am looking forward to this game. Just to shout out a podcast I listen to, Mizzou That's Who on KC Sports Network. They are having a watch party at Holiday Distillery up in Weston, Missouri for this game. I'm looking forward to it because I'm going to go and watch this game there. Oh, I am, like I said, I've been pumped since they announced this game, that this game was going to be on the schedule. And then now that we're finally here in game week, like, I just want it to be Saturday, man. I am pumped for this game. This one, Mizzou victor. We're going to get the 2-0. Man, I am ready. So, with that will conclude this episode. On my upcoming episode, I'm going to preview the week 2 action of college football, which will start Friday night, and then obviously there'll be games Saturday. And then obviously NFL kicks off this week with a Thursday night game with the Philadelphia Eagles against the Dallas Cowgirls. Chiefs and Chargers will play in Brazil Friday night, and of course, full action on Sunday, and then concluding with Monday Night Football. So there, once again, you have a full weekend. Because last weekend you had Thursday through Monday, and that was just college. So this weekend you'll have Thursday through Monday again, but now with NFL mixed in. So it's going to be a fun weekend of football. Again, you still got MLB action as we're entering the last month of the MLB season. It's going to be a fun race, especially on the AL side in the wild card race. So plenty of excitement. NASCAR playoffs have started. You still got MLS. So it's a fun time to be a sports fan. So with that, MIZZOU. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a great Tuesday afternoon and Tuesday evening.